Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. Today, we have a showdown between two dive watches from a company famous for them. Both Rolex Certified Pre-Owned. We have the Submariner Date versus the Deepsea Sea-Dweller. Latest references. Versus starts now. So the thing about these Rolex reviews is that oftentimes it's easier to compare a Rolex to a Rolex, since reputationally, it can be difficult to compare something that has glitterati status to something that does not. But what's important here is that these two watches have very different fit, sizing, feel, and ergonomic equations to consider. But fundamentally, they are designed for the same task. So you are looking at the latest version of the Submariner Date. Now, this is the lunette verte, or green bezel version of it. It's the third generation green Submariner, dating back to the original so-called Kermit from 2003. That was the 50th anniversary sub. This watch, as you see it here, debuted back in 2020. And it's a larger sub than we've historically seen in 904L stainless steel, which they both are. We have a watch that is 41 millimeters in diameter, 12.5 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 48.1 millimeters, 51.5 from end link to end link, and it's got a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. I'll remove my glove real quick just so you can see my wrist, because what's a wrist shot without a wrist? Rolex, I promise. I'll put it back on. Now, this is an easy watch to wear, and I would argue that if your wrist is even remotely under 17 centimeters circumference, automatic choice. You could see on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, very comfortable. Also very flat. One of the great advantages of the sub traditionally is that for a 300-meter diver, it really is quite flat flush. And if you want to wear it formally with a dress cuff, French cuffs, tight sleeves, it's going to work really well in that regard. The watch, in terms of its engineering internally, I'm going to put my glove back on now, they're both identical. They use caliber 3235, 70-hour power reserve, bidirectional automatic winding, quick set date, hacking seconds, full balance bridge, free sprung balance for shock resistant, anti-magnetic niobium zirconium overcoil hairspring to give you both anti-magnetism and positionally agnostic timekeeping. Both watches are superlative chronometers. Their movement's accurate to no worse than -2 + 2 seconds per 24 hours. 31 joules, 4 hertz, everything from the lubricants to the shock protection used, Rolex in-house. Now that we've got the tech and spec out of the way, let's talk about the advantages this watch has over the Deepsea Sea-Dweller. First of all, while both are famous, this is iconic. The term icon gets thrown around too often, but I don't think, for example, the Hublot Big Bang is an icon. I don't necessarily think something like the Longines Legend Diver is an icon. These are well-known watches, and there's a difference between a well-known watch and an icon. And it's the difference between a famous person and a person who literally defines their role. So we're talking the difference between a good director, like, I don't know, let's say someone along the lines of James Gunn. He's a good director. He's had a good career. Then there's Martin Scorsese or Steven Spielberg, and now we're talking the big leagues. This is a Spielberg, this is a Coppola. So it's an icon. It defines its space. I would also say that this watch has better fit by far, so it's an advantage on that level. I would also say that it seems to me a little bit as though this is cheaper if you can buy it new. $11,200 if you buy it new versus $15,020 if you buy it new. Pre-owned, the difference is not as great. But if you're going to buy new and you have a chance to purchase it that way, this will be a few $1,000s less. So between its iconic status, its evergreen design that will not change on a whim with time, the fit, the way it feels on a smaller wrist, the thinness of it, and the lower price of entry, there's a lot to love right here. I will mention here that both watches feature incremental adjustment systems. This is glide lock. We have 10 increments that add up to 20 millimeters of tool-free sizing, and my beloved CPO tag might be getting in the way here. But when you don't have a tag in the way, it has those 10 little increments giving you 20 millimeters of tool-free adjustment. Both of these watches feature a double lock, the spring-loaded lift lock system, and then the clamshell. Both of these watches feature 904L steel, which is a high nickel content steel that will not corrode even if it is not rinsed after seawater exposure. 316 can actually corrode. Now, both have 120 click bezels with ceramic inserts. This one is obviously green. I'm not going to opine on which of those is better. It's just that they are mechanically the same. Both these watches feature white gold hands and indices, and we'll do a quick loom shot because there will be some confusion about whether there is any distinction between the two. And I'm not going to make the call. Maybe the indices on the Deepsea are a bit larger. Somehow the sub seems to be glowing brighter. I'm just going to call this a wash and say that they are both equally bright and legible. Now let's take a look at the Deepsea, and I'm going to take my glove off, put it on my wrist one more time. So it's up against an icon that fits better and is more accessible to purchase new. So what does it have going for it? Well, the first thing is not everyone on Earth wants a smaller watch. There are people with big wrists who need something that's not going to look dainty, and for those people, there's this. Now, the Deepsea Sea-Dweller, and this was still the Deepsea Sea-Dweller when this model, the 136660, came out in 2022, but the Deepsea Sea-Dweller got a case reprofiling in 2018, and this is very close to that in terms of proportions and size. So you're going to find that this is going to fit like a second generation Deepsea, even though it's a third generation. The first generation is the one that was a little bit more proportionally wonky and difficult to wear. This is a lot better. I can wear this watch. I think the further away you get, the more you see my arm in proportion, the better it looks. But I will say that if your wrist is any smaller than mine, you're going to have serious issues with the proportional aesthetic of this watch on a tiny wrist. So if you want a bigger watch, that's an advantage we've got right here. Let me bring back my glove before Mother Rolex disapproves. Also, let's just face it, this is a bigger watch for a reason. Capability. Take a look at these dials. 1,000 times 3.9 versus 300 meters. So you've got 3,900 meters here, and then you've got 300. Why is that important? For most, it won't be. But for some, this could be a key distinction, especially if the watch is being worn on the outside of some kind of a depth suit. Under those circumstances, this may matter. Also important, the helium escape valve. You can't really get it on a sub, at least not a mainstream modern sub, but it is standard on the Deepsea here. So that's very nice. In terms of capability, you've got a lot more. This watch is built around this ring lock system, where you've got an enormous sapphire that's many millimeters thicker than the sub, sitting on a hardened steel, I think it's actually nitrogen hardened steel ring. So this thing that features the graphics themselves, original gas escape valve, the text ring lock, that might be superfluous, but that piece of metal serves a purpose. It's this cylinder that starts with the sapphire and ends on a once rare use of titanium on a Rolex watch, this unique case back. So essentially, as the water compresses it, it becomes even more watertight. And you can see it is along with something like a Milgauss, one of the few Rolex watches that has a model-specific branded case back, and you could see just from the shade of it, it's a different material than the 904L steel. So if you need that capability, advantage. Some will also say that in terms of aesthetic, it's nice to have a watch that is less common, and this is less common. I chose the colorful Deepsea James Cameron dial because I also chose a colorful lunette vert green bezel insert, and I thought that color versus color was a nice apples to apples comparison. But at the end of the day, even compared to the green sub, a James Cameron-style Deepsea Sea-Dweller is going to be less common, so you will see fewer of these, and that's a big part of the appeal of a luxury product. Also, due to the thickness of this monumental crystal, which I believe is right on 5 millimeters thick, you can see there is no Cyclops eye magnifier, and some people prefer that for the balance it brings to the dial, whereas here, it certainly works as a magnifier, but not everyone likes the asymmetry and the protuberance that it brings as a presence on the face of your watch. I'm also going to say that this has a much more sophisticated clasp. When you have it on the wrist, take note, you can still And with gloves, as I'm demonstrating, you can open this unique form of glide lock and then move it inside the clasp when the clasp is closed. So I can pull it out or I can push it in, and I can perform sizing when the clasp is on my wrist, because in a deep water marine environment, I may not want to take this watch off my wrist. If I drop it, it's gone. So having this unique trap door that will unlock the glide lock system and allow you to make adjustments, that's useful for security in a place where you might drop your watch and never retrieve it, but it also makes for easier tool-free adjustment and resizing on the go as activity, inactivity, hot and cold might change your wrist size. So while there's not really a huge advantage in terms of degrees of adjustment, there is a lot of gee whiz factor in the way this works. It looks really cool, but also in the security that comes with being able to make these adjustments when the watch is firmly clamped down on your wrist. So which one do I like better? Well, I got to admit, I kind of like the Deepsea better. I love this particular dial. I love the clasp. I love the techie aspect of it, the cool oversized sapphire that's super thick, the helium escape valve, the ultra deep dive. I love that clasp and its trap door for activating the glide lock. And I think it's just a really neat idea with this ring lock system that acts as basically a cylinder within the case to achieve the hermeticity advertised on the dial. So if I had the wrist, I would probably go with this because I think it's just cool. It's got a gee whiz factor and it's got exclusive capabilities, whereas this is much more elegant. I think if you want to wear a watch with elegance as any consideration whatsoever, it's going to be the sub. Dress watch, it's going to be the sub. Smaller wrist, it's going to be the sub. Proportional aesthetic, it's going to be the sub. If you want the all-time icon, it's going to be the sub. But again, I'm a bit of an iconoclast, and as much as I love smaller, thinner watches and green bezels, this would be my choice if I were large enough to wear it, but I'm not. So the pendulum swings back in favor of the Submariner. One last issue to settle. What is the price delta between these if you buy them certified pre-owned? Because neither one of these is new. Well, remember I said this is $11,200 new. This is $15,020 new. Remember, the Deepsea is now its own model line since 2024. But pre-owned, this is going to be about $16.5 to $17.5 thousand. And pre-owned, this is going to be about $16.5 to $18,000. So not a huge delta there. On the green bezel, the fit, the feel, the size of my wrist, it's going to be the sub. But if I could, I would. Guys, let me know in the comments below, which of these would you choose? Because for once, at least pre-owned, price is not a factor.